Hey guys, welcome to the Demented Robot Games YouTube channel once again. Today, I want to show you a pretty cool game. Cool from my own point of view. Although I do warn you, the game is a little bit weird, or maybe I should say it more precisely. Some of you guys may find it weird because of the theme. Because the theme of the game that we're taking a look at today is pretty weird. It's kind of black and dark and slightly or more than slightly morbid. So if you don't like that kind of thing, then obviously you're not going to like this game either. Personally, I think the theme is very original because it's a breath of fresh air. It's different from anything else I've seen. Anyway, without much further ado, let's take a look at the game. We're taking a look at The Bloody Inn. This is a card game released by Pearl Games. This game is, let's say, a hand management / engine building kind of card game in which, and here it goes, that's why I said the game was a little bit morbid, in which you are going to be innkeepers who are killing their guests for money. Basically, you are greedy bastards and you plan on killing some of your customers, some of the guests who visit your inn, and take their money, essentially without, of course, being discovered by the police. So that's the idea behind the story. The game takes place in early 19th century in France, and you are a family, you and other players are a family of these evil, greedy, criminal innkeepers who just want to kill their customers for money. But being a greedy, evil family that you are not really cooperating. You are just, it's every man for himself. Essentially, you are trying to have the most money at the end of the game. Whoever has the most is going to be the winner. Now, in this game, there's a lot of stuff happening. These guests are going to be visiting your inn. You can do a lot of stuff with them. Of course, you're not going to kill all your guests because you need your accomplices. So you're going to bribe some guests to be your accomplices to help you in your nefarious deeds, obviously. You're going to build these annexes, these additional buildings where you're going to hide these bodies, these corpses secretly. Then, of course, you're going to kill your customers and try to bury them inside these secret annexes before you get discovered by the police. There's a little bit of money laundry here, a little bit of engine building, because these annexes, when placed on the table, they have some special powers. There's a little bit of everything in this game. This is potentially a very interesting card game. Whether it's really good, whether it's really as good as it promises to be, of course, we're going to see at the end of this video. But before that, we're going to see how this game plays, how it works, because I'm going to set it up and show you guys how it works. So let's see that first. Okay, guys. Now, this is how the game looks like. I did some things in advance by drawing these cards out. You will start the round without these cards out. They will all be here in this deck. So I prepared a little bit in advance, but this is more or less how the game looks like. Now, here we have a board. This board represents our inn. Every player will have one room denoted by the token of their color. So this is the yellow player's room, this is the blue player's room, and so on and so forth. We're also going to have a couple of neutral rooms which will be marked by these white tokens. So these are the rooms at the inn. This here, this snake, is our money tracker. So we will move these wooden tokens to keep track of how much money everybody has. Remember, the victory condition is to have most money, more than other players. Okay, and every player, every player is going to have their starting hand of cards. That's 2 peasants at the very beginning of the game. They will have this player aid card, which is also a functioning game piece. We're going to talk about that later. One player is going to hold this. This is a first player card. We want to keep track of who's first. Everybody is going to have a couple of these tokens of their color, because over the course of the game you can have more than one room. You'll see how that works a little bit later. Everybody is going to receive one 10-franc check. There's also a supply. You can get more of those over the course of the game. And we're going to prepare this deck. This is our main draw pile. We're going to remove randomly some cards from here, depending on the number of players and how long we want the game to be. So we are removing a certain amount of cards from here. And that's basically it. Yeah, everybody starts with 5 francs here at the very beginning of the game. And this is basically the setup. We can now start playing the game. Now, I'm going to first describe the structure of the round, and then I'm going to get into more detail about the actions that you can do. So the structure of the round goes like this. The first player, whoever is holding this card, is going to draw cards from this pile and place them in the rooms in any order they wish. The order may be important. You will see why a little bit later. So they will draw cards and they will place one card in a room. These are guests that are visiting our inn. These guys are going to sleep over the night and leave in the morning, considering they're still alive, because some of them are definitely not going to survive the night. That's the essence of the game. We want to kill people for money, essentially. It's a dark game, okay? So, the first player fills the rooms in any order they wish. Then we go into our action turn. Beginning with the first player, everybody performs one action, and then it goes like that in the clockwise direction. Then we're going to repeat the same thing once again. So again, the first player does his or her second action, and this goes around the table once again. So everybody has 2 actions total, but they don't get to do them at once. They do them in 2 circles around the table, basically. Anyway, when everybody performs 2 actions, that's the end of the action turn. Then we go into a possible police investigation. If there are any policemen at the inn, those are the guys who have guns here in the upper part of the card. Policemen will get suspicious if there are unburied corpses, unburied bodies in anybody's possession. In which case, the person in question, whoever has the unburied body, will have to hastily remove it by paying the local gravedigger to do that. That's how you lose money instead of earning. So you definitely don't want to be caught by the police. You definitely do not want that to happen. If there are no unburied corpses or no policemen at the inn, we simply skip that phase. Then the guests surviving guests, that is, are going to leave the inn and pay the owner of the room in which they stayed 1 franc for staying in the room. So every player whose room is still occupied by a guest at that point is going to earn 1 franc. Whenever your money status changes, you will keep track of that by moving your token either down or up. Okay? And then they will leave. All of these guests are going to just leave by being placed here in the exit pile. Okay? So this is our exit pile of cards here. But I'm going to leave these guys here for the time being because I want to explain a couple of things. When they leave and when they pay for staying in the rooms, then we have one more remaining phase, which is to pay our accomplices. Essentially, every card in the game represents a person. We begin the game with 2 peasants in our hands, but this situation is going to change over the course of the game. So at the very end of the round, you will have to pay every accomplice that you have 1 franc. So in this case, I would have to pay 2 francs to these 2 guys. But if I had 3 guys in my hand, I would have to pay 3 francs. These are my accomplices, and I just have to pay them money for doing dirty work for me, essentially. Okay? And that's the end of the round. After which, this card goes to the next player in the clockwise direction, and then we repeat the same process again. So that's the structure of the game. But the meat of this game is in your actions. Okay? So that's the thing that we're going to spend most time explaining. So what are your actions? First, you can bribe a guest, okay? You can take a guest from the room or from the bistro, a peasant from the bistro, because peasants are always discarded to the bistro, not out of the game, but to the bistro. Anyway, you can either bribe a guest from the room, any of these guys, or bribe a peasant from the bistro. You do that by paying the number of cards, discarding the number of cards from your hand equal to the rank of the card. In this game, every card will have a rank. This is a level 1 card, rank 1 card. But we have 0 level cards, we have 2 level cards, and even 3 level cards, okay? The higher the level of the card is, the more expensive it is to play, but the more powerful it is probably at the same time. Anyway, when you bribe a guest, you discard a corresponding number of cards and then take that guest and put it into your hand. This guy is a level 0, so he cost me 0 cards to get. I do not have to discard anything. I just take that guy, spend my action, take that guy, and put that guy in my hand. Of course, this is my hand of cards, and it's secret to the other players, so you're holding it in your hand. Anyway, but I would have to discard 3 cards for this guy because he is a level 3, as you can see here. Okay? If one of the guests that you have, one of the guys that you have in your hand has this symbol, this money symbol here, it means bribing is that guy's specialty, in which case he or she does not get discarded from your hand. So for example, if I wanted to bribe this guy who is level 3, and I had these 3 cards, I would discard these 2 peasants by putting them back in the bistro, and I would discard this card as well. But since this guy has the specialty of bribing, he gets returned to my hand, and of course I take this guy whom I have just bribed. Okay? So these specialties that certain guys have are very important because it makes your gameplay more effective. Okay? That's how the thing works. As a bribe action, you can also bribe peasants. They are level 0, so you don't have to discard any cards to bribe a peasant. You can bribe up to 2 peasants from the bistro. You can bribe 1 or 2, okay, for 1 action. So that's the bribe action. The second action you can do is build an annex. Some of the cards, oh, I moved the camera slightly. Some of the cards in this game are annexes. If a card has this house in the lower left corner, that card is an annex. That's important because when you kill a guest, if you don't want to get discovered by the police, you need to bury the body inside of the annex, one of these. Your player aid card is at the same time a level 1 annex, okay? And you can bury a body here, okay? So by default, you begin the game with 1 annex, but other cards can be built as annexes. You can build a card as an annex if you already have that card in the hand. So let's say that I have previously bribed this guy and I already have this guy in my hand. As an action, I can place that card as an annex on the table. This is now one of my annexes here. This is a level 1 annex, which means that I will have to discard one of my cards to build that annex. Okay, then I will simply discard the card. This is a peasant, so I return that guy in the bistro, and then I build this card. Annexes are important because they function as hiding places for your bodies, but they also have some special ability here written on the card, which constitutes an engine building aspect of this game, because your annexes, and you will have more over the course of the game, will bring you some special benefits. Either it's either immediate or it boosts your scoring at the end of the game, or it has a lasting effect. Okay? If any of the cards that I discarded for building has this symbol, that's the building specialty. That card does not get discarded, it returns into my hand. Okay? So that's building an annex. The following action you can do is kill a guest. Okay? Again, you discard the number of cards equal to the level of the card and you kill that guest. You kill guests directly from the room. So you take the guest from the room and place that card face down in front of you. This is now a corpse. But this corpse is not buried yet. So I cannot take money from that corpse unless I bury it. Okay? But when I do, it will bring me 18 francs. You can see that both at the front of the card and at the back of the card. So that's how you kill a guest. If any of the guys you discarded for the killing has the gun, that's the killing specialty, and that guy does not get discarded. Or maybe even several of them, if you have several of them. Okay? The next action is to bury a corpse. And that's very important because you cannot earn money from the corpses before you actually bury these guys. Okay? So, again, I will discard the number of cards equal to the level of the corpse. Corpses have levels equal to the levels of their previous owners. So you have to discard 2 cards for this one, and then you will be able to bury it by tucking it under one of your annexes. This annex is a level 1 annex, so it holds 1 body. So I can bury 1 guy here. So when I bury, I tuck this guy under the annex, and that's finally the moment when I can take 18 francs from this guy. And then I will take my token here, I'm a green player, and put it, okay, I already have 5 francs. So 18 plus, that's 23, right? I put that guy here. So now I have more money. I have finally robbed the guy that I buried. Okay? So that's the burying action. If any of the cards discarded in the process of burying has this specialty, that guy returns into your hand, does not get discarded. Okay? So that's the burying specialty. And then the final thing you can do is pass. Passing basically means money laundry. When you pass, you forfeit any of the other actions for the sake of doing money laundry. You will see that the maximum amount of money you can have is 40 francs, which means that sooner or later you will reach the maximum, after which, even when you earn money, it's simply lost. So occasionally you will have to launder your money, do some money laundry. You do that by forfeiting your action, and then you launder one part of your money. So if I have 40 francs, I can choose to, let's say, turn 30 of my francs to these checks. So I can move the token to 10 and take 3 of these checks. These are now my money that I have turned into checks, so I'm not suspicious. I did some money laundry. These guys will count toward my final score at the end of the game. I just simply put them in my possession, like this. And those are basically the actions you can do. I forgot to tell you that when you bury a body, you can bury your body in another person's annex, in which case you split the money with them. Okay? And that's basically how we play the game. We follow the round structure that I explained at the beginning as many times as it needs until we go through this deck 2 times. So when all the cards are put here, we will then shuffle this deck again, make a new draw pile, and then go through the deck once more. When we run out of cards for the second time, that's the end of the game. Whoever has more money plus these checks total whoever has a total which is higher than everybody else will be the winner. There are going to be some annex cards that will grant you some additional scoring at the end of the game, but that's basically it. Whoever has most money at the end of the game, checks included, will be the winner of the game. And that's the short overview of the game. I did not explain every single detail about the game, but you have a pretty good idea about how it works. Now in the next section, as always, I'm going to tell you what I think about the game. So let's do that. Okay, guys, now you've seen how the game works. It looks like a pretty interesting game, right? And it really is. But before I start saying things about my final impressions about this game, I just have to address the question that I hinted at the beginning of this video. This game does have a little bit morbid, a little bit dark kind of theme attached to it. So if you guys don't like that kind of thing, I perfectly understand. Not everybody wants to kill people for money, not even in a game, and I can perfectly get it. For me though, personally, I really think this theme is so cool and so original. It's a breath of fresh air really in the world of board games. I haven't seen a theme exactly like this in the world of board games. And I do love it. I do not mind, personally, that's my personal taste, a little bit of darkness if it's applied correctly and if it's a cool original theme. And this game definitely is. It creates this super cool, eerie, slightly eerie kind of atmosphere where you know you're doing a bad thing, but you of course don't want to get arrested and end up being in jail for the rest of your life. So you don't want to get discovered. You're paranoid about the police appearing, you know, and the game really has this really cool atmosphere and it really works. I can't really imagine this game with any other kind of theme. It just wouldn't work nearly as good, okay? But more importantly, this game is really a good one, and it's a really pleasant surprise for me. You know, there are so many games out there that promise a lot, and then they fail to deliver all those things promised. This game does the exact opposite. It doesn't promise to be a huge game. It just looks like a casual, small card game, but when you actually start playing it, you realize that it's so much bigger than it looks. both physically, because it's a relatively small box, right? Doesn't look like much. But gameplay-wise, even more so, because the game is so much bigger gameplay-wise, so much deeper tactically and strategically than you would expect it to be according to what it initially promises and what it looks like. So this is a really, really thinky game. There's a lot to think about because in this game there's so many different things and they are all tightly connected. Okay? You need to kill your customers if you want to have the most money at the end of the game. That's how you win. So you need to kill your guests. But it's not easy because first you need to have a place to bury your guests if you don't want to get discovered by the police, right? So you will have to build these annexes, right? First. But in order to do that, you will need help. So you will need guys whom you will need to bribe. In order to bribe, you will need to discard these cards. You also have money laundry. There's some engine building because these annexes have special powers and they really influence how efficiently you play. They really determine your strategy. So there's so many things and they are all connected. So you have to do a whole chain of things before you can actually bury the body and before you can actually take your money. So there's always one thing that you want to do during your round that you cannot. There's always at least one more action that you would like to do. So it's one of those games that tortures you by never giving you enough time or resources to do everything you really want to do. So you need to think a little bit in advance and plan your moves in advance because you cannot possibly do everything this round. It's wonderful, wonderfully deep strategically and tactically. You have to pay attention to what other guys are doing. You can even be sneaky and bury your bodies in other people's annexes, and that's so cool because you can get yourself out of trouble, but you can also mess with somebody else's strategy. Maybe they were preparing to bury this 3-level body that gives them a lot of money, and you just take your own low-level body and put them in their annex, and suddenly they are in trouble. You know, and the whole thing is so fun to play. It's great. The game also looks very nice. I really love the artwork. Yes, it's a little bit kooky, a little bit twisted, but I really love the style because I haven't seen anything quite like this in the world of board games. Really original artwork. I really love the cards. Component quality is decent as well. Gameplay time is also good. I don't feel like the game outstays its welcome. After all, you have an option of choosing the shorter version of the game because if you get more cards out of the starting deck, the game will be shorter. So you can tailor the duration of the game to your liking. If you like a longer game, you will play a longer game. If you like a shorter one, you have the option. That's a really cool thing. Number of players, what does it say exactly? I think it's 1 to 4. Yeah, 1 to 4. I've tried the game with 3, 4, and I've tried it solo. I haven't tried it with 2 yet, but it feels like it works very well with all player counts. Even the solo version is not too bad. It's not as fun as when you have a bunch of people with whom you have to compete, but having a solo option is a really, really cool thing as well. I told you everything about the theme. Many people will not like it, and that will be a deal breaker for those people. Personally, I do like it, and I don't mind a little bit of darkness, even a little bit of dark humor that this game has. All in all, let me cut the long story short. This is a very, very cool game and a very, very pleasant surprise for me. Seems like a small casual card game. It's actually a deep strategic and very fun and exciting game to play. I really, really love it, and I think it goes without saying that I absolutely recommend this game. You guys should definitely look into it because it's a really, really good one. And I hope that this video helped you guys make your decision either against the game or for the game. I'm not trying to sway you in any direction. I'm just saying my personal opinion, okay? Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for all the good stuff that you're doing, sharing, liking, commenting, subscribing, mostly subscribing. If you haven't subscribed already, consider clicking on that bell button, on that subscribe button, but also the bell button next to it, because that will notify you whenever I upload something new on this channel. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Until the next time, play or be played. Just don't stop playing. Goodbye.